Good evening, it's Michael Martin Murphy. This is the Lone Cowboy Hour. The show that says sometimes you just have to be alone and find yourself. It doesn't say it's better to be alone. It just says you need an inner core where you can be alone and do a job alone if you have to. Cowboys have always a good symbol of that because we just don't much like joining committees, belonging to organizations or unions. We like to be able to roll up our bedroll and ride away if we don't like the job. I'm on a rundown, I'm out running sundown, thinking I'm on the right track. I'm riding the song as I'm riding along. I'm keeping the sun at my back. Big horse, trailer, and truck, I can make my own luck as I ride through the sand and the sage. It gives me a rush to be buzzed in the brush, acting about half my age. Lone cowboy, doing my best. Lone cowboy, I go everywhere west. Lone cowboy, my old campfire songs. Lone cowboy, giddy up, get along. I've owned some good ponies, blacks, bays, and blue ronies, bays, palominos, and paints. Got good songs and bad ones, love songs and sevens, songs about sinners and saints. I'm still riding old wildfire to find the next campfire. Memories turn embers to coals. But at daylight I'm crying to live forever or die trying. I'll never get old in my soul. Lone cowboy, I'm doing my best. Lone cowboy, I go everywhere west. Lone cowboy, my old campfire songs. Lone cowboy, giddy up, get along. Lone cowboy, lone cowboy, lone cowboy. Probably the most classic cowboy song of the 19th century for cowboys themselves was published in the Montana Stockman's Journal in 1883 by a fellow named D.J. O'Malley. D.J. O'Malley was a rep on the /7 up in Montana. He has a monument built to him, a little plaque in Miles City Museum, just for writing this one song. This song is a fascinating song because it talks a little bit about what happened when there was a stampede out on the range. You see, somebody had to volunteer to get out in front to try to turn the herd. And the only way to do that was to replace the lead steer. When he got out in front, he sometimes took his slicker off and waved it and then chased off the lead steer. If the lead steer wouldn't get out of his way, he'd have to pull a 6-gun and shoot the steer. Sorry, I have to apologize for people who love animals on that statement, but that's just the way it was. To save a valuable herd, they had to drop that valuable lead steer, which was hard to do. This was a song that was the first one to sell 1 million records in history by a Texas cowpuncher singer named Carl T. Sprigg. group of jolly cowboys discussing plans at ease. Says one, I'll tell you something, boys, if you will listen, please. I'm an old cowpuncher, and you see me dressed in rags. And I used to be a good one, boys, and I went on great big jags. I've got a home, boys, a good one you all know, though I haven't seen it since very long ago. Going back to Dixie once more to see them all. I'm going to see my mother when the work's all done this fall. When I left my home, my mother for me cried. She begged me not to go, boys, for me she would have died. My mother's heart is aching, breaking for me, that's all. I want to see my mother when the work's all done this fall. That very night this cowboy went out to stand his guard. Night was dark and cloudy and storming very hard. The cattle, they got frightened and they rushed in wild stampede. The cowboy tried to head them while riding at full speed. Riding in the darkness so loudly he did shout, trying hard to head them to turn the herd about. The saddle horse did stumble and upon him it did fall. He won't see his mother when the work's all done this fall. His body was so mangled, the boys all thought him dead. They picked him up so gently and they laid him on a bed. He opened up his blue eyes and looking all around, he motioned to his comrade to come near him on the ground. He said, send my mother my wages, boys, the wages I have earned. I am so afraid, boys, the last steer I've turned. I'm headed for a new range, boys. I hear the master call. I'll not see my mother when the work's all done this fall. So, George, you take my saddle. Bill, you take my bed. Fred, you take my old pistol. After I am dead, please think of me kindly when you look upon them all. I'll not see my mother when the work's all done this fall. Charlie was buried at sunrise, no tombstone for his head, nothing but a little board, and this is what it said. Charlie died at daybreak, and he died from a fall. He'll not see his mother when the work's all done this fall. Another song that is definitely a 19th century classic is once again about a cowboy who risks his life and loses it in favor of trying to save the herd. As I explained before, usually it was an older cowboy who volunteered to save the herd. So when a young man did that, it really moved people, and it saddened the cowboys when a young cowboy did that. This is a song about a young cowboy who rides in who doesn't even know how to do cow work. He's a teenager. And this song was written by a guy named Jack Thorpe. Now, when John Lomax published the first book of Cowboy Songs, who was a professor and a folklorist from the University of Texas, everybody thought that this was some kind of a public domain song. And so Thorpe had gotten it from a few cowboys out on the range, the melody anyway, but he definitely wrote the lyrics. And Lomax had collected it and didn't know that he had written it. So when he credited it in the book, which is the first book that was widely published about cowboy songs, introduction of the book written by Theodore Roosevelt, by the way, Songs of the Trailin' Cow Camp, it was in the book. And Mr. Lomax got a nasty letter from Jack Thorpe a few years later when he put out the second edition, and it finally got around to Thorpe that he had written this song. So written this song and not been credited for it. So this is Little Joe the Wrangler. Probably happened this way lots of times. Call him Little Joe the Wrangler, he'll wrangle nevermore. His days on the remuda, they are done. Was a year ago, last April, that he rode into our camp, just a little Texas stray and all alone. Long late in the evening, he rode into our camp on a little old brown pony he called Chaw. With his brogan shoes and overalls, a tougher looking kid you never in your life ever saw. His saddle was a Texas cack made many years ago, with an OK spur on one foot idly slung. His hot roll in a cotton sack loosely tied behind, canteen on the saddle horn was slung. Well, he said he had to leave his home. His ma had married twice, and his new pa beat him every day or two. So he saddled up old Chaw one night and lit a shuck this way, and now he's trying to paddle his own canoe. Said if we would give him work, he'd do the best he could, though he didn't know straight up about a cow. So the boss, he cut him out a mount, kindly put him on, for sort of liked this little kid somehow. Taught him how to wrangle horses, know 'em all by name, and get 'em in by daybreak if he could. To follow the Chuckwagon and always hitch the team, and help the cocinero rustle wood. We were camped out at Red River, the weather being fine, down by the south side of a bend, when a norther started blowing and we doubled up our guard, for it took all hands to keep the cattle in. Little Joe the Wrangler was called out with the rest. Scarcely had the kid reached the herd when the cattle all stampeded like a hailstorm long they fled, and all of us were riding for the lead. Beneath the streaks of lightning, we could see a horse ahead. It was Little Joe the Wrangler in the lead. He was riding old Blue Rocket with a slicker over his head, trying to check the leaders in their speed. At last we got 'em milling, kinda quieted down, and the extra guard back to the camp did go. But one of us was missing, and we knew it at a glance, was our little Texas stray, poor Wrangler Joe. Next morning, just at daybreak, found where a rocket fell in a washout 40 feet below. Beneath his horse mashed to a pulp, his spur had rung the knell, was our little Texas stray, poor Wrangler Joe. Called him Little Joe the Wrangler, he'll wrangle nevermore. His days on the remuda, they are done. Was a year ago, last April, that he rode into our camp, just a little Texas stray dog. Now he's leaning, safe and secure from all alarms. Jesus was the pickup man, he's leaning, oh, he's leaning. Leaning on the everlasting arms.
Howdy folks, Andy Hedges here, and I'm excited to be joining Michael Martin Murphey for his Lone Cowboy Hour tonight. And I'm also looking forward to joining Murph up in Red River in just a couple of weeks for his Chuckwagon gathering, which is kind of the replacement event for Westfest, and it's going to be up at the amphitheater where Murph does his summer concert series. And I joined him out there last summer with my family, and it's just an absolutely beautiful place, and it's going to be a great family event, and I know they're taking the necessary precautions to make it a safe event, so I hope you will join us out there in Red River. I'm going to play an old-time cowboy song for you tonight. I learned this from a book by a fella named Teddy Blue Abbott called We Pointed 'Em North, one of the great accounts of the trail driving era. And Teddy Blue says he learned this song from a black cowboy named John Henry. And he said John Henry would sing this on Night Guard. And the song talks about a lot of the rivers that were crossed going up the trail. And it's called the Ogallala Song. We was camped out on the Cimarron, and I heard John Henry sing. The Nueces River in April '81 with 3,000 longhorn cattle, and all they knowed was run. The Colorado in old Austin town, headed north until we hit Dome Store of high renown. Ouachita was running full, but we got 'em all across. We counted on the other bank and never had a loss. North with a blocker 7 herd, and old Mr. Rapp, he's a moving like a bird. We had another storm. This is the damnedest country I've seen since I was born. We were camped out on the Cimarron, and I heard John Henry sing.
Tonight on the Lone Cowboy Hour, we're doing classic cowboy songs. There are a couple of things here that are pretty authentic. This Chuckwagon is definitely period, and some of the cooking equipment out here, and the cattle being behind me is something that it was known that cowboys did sing to the cattle once in a while. How close they really came, I don't know how authentic that is. I do know, though, that this particular song was what was on the mind of most cowboys when they were out there. Most of the cowboys were young men. They never really knew if they were going to ever see their family again. A lot of them were orphans, and so that didn't matter. But the average age of a cowboy on the Chisholm Trail, according to scholars, was about 16 years old. Of course, some of the things we've got here tonight on the Lone Cowboy Hour are not authentic. This guitar was made in Austin, Texas by the Collings factory, and I don't think they had guitars like that back then. And of course, they didn't have PA systems to give you better sound. But it's still, in this setting, particularly pleasant to me to be on the NRS Ranch here in Decatur, Texas, trying to recreate a little bit of the feeling of what it was like. The song I'm about to sing now is a sad one. It's addresses something that most of the movie cowboy songs didn't address, and that is most cowboys couldn't wait to get off the range and get home. It was a lonesome place, a dirty job, and a long trail. What they feared most was having to be buried out on the trail, like Little Joe the Wrangler in that last song I did. Now, I've got news for you. Most cowboys didn't really ever carry many instruments out on the trail. I doubt that I've seen almost any pictures of 19th century cowboys that were taken toward the end of the cattle drive period where there's a guitar in the picture. You'd see a fiddle, but most of the time they sang a cappella without an instrument. That's what I'm going to do on this song. So I'm just going to get a note there, and then I'm going to put this down. I'm going to sing it for you probably the way they really sang it out on the range. Oh, bury me not on the lone prairie. These words came sad and mournfully from the pallid lips of a youth who lay on his dying bed at the close of day. It matters not, so I've been told, where the body lies when the heart grows cold. But grant, oh grant, one wish to me, oh bury me not on the lone prairie. Oh bury me not on the lone prairie, where coyotes howl and the wind blows free, in a narrow grave 6 by 3. Oh, bury me not on the lone prairie. Oh, bury me not. And his voice failed there. But we did not heed his dying prayer. In a narrow grave 6 by 3, we buried him there on the lone prairie. And the cowboys now, as they roam the plains, have marked the spot where his bones was lain. Fling a handful of roses over his grave with a prayer to God, his soul to save. Spanish is the loving tongue, soft as springtime, light as spring. There was a girl I learned it from, living down Sonora way. Now I don't look much like a lover, yet I say her love words over late at night when I'm all alone. Mi amor, mi corazón. There were nights when I would write, she would listen for my spurs, fling that big door open wide, raise those laughing eyes of hers, and how those hours would get to flying. Pretty soon you hear her crying, please don't leave me all alone. mi amor, mi corazón. And one time I had to fly, got myself into gambling fight. I had to say a swift goodbye. In that black, unlucky night, and traveling north, her words kept ringing in every hoofbeat. I could hear her saying, please don't leave me all alone. Mi amor, mi corazón. I've never seen her since that night. I can't cross the border, you know. She is Mexican and I am white. Like is not, it's better so. And yet I've always sort of missed her since that very first night I kissed her. I left her heart, I lost my own. Adios, mi corazón. Well, the truth is that the old lone cowboy's got to have something to eat. And when I ride in, everybody else may take off, but one guy we have to keep around is this next guy. I've known him for quite a few years. He is one of the guys who cares most about Western heritage and the true history of the cowboy that I've ever run into. I was proud to get an award at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum for singing a song that he wrote that he's going to do right now. This is K.R. Wood, and this is Nickel a Day on the Old Chisholm Trail. Not the Old Chisholm Trail song, but Nickel a Day on the Old Chisholm Trail.
Yeehaw, come and get it. This song is a song that I wrote about the suspension bridge in Waco, which was one of the wonders of the world at the time. It was the first suspension bridge west of the Mississippi. The date they finished it was January 9th, 1870. The first herd of longhorn cattle went across the Brazos River there in Waco. And they charged a toll on this bridge, a nickel a head, and it paid off the bridge in less than 2 years. Now that's a lot of nickels. So let the song tell the rest of the story. And I was very grateful that Michael Martin Murphey helped collaborate with me on this song. Well, we crossed the Wide Pecos, forded the New Oasis, swam the Guadalupe and followed the Brazos. Red River runs rusty, the Wichita clear. But down on the muddy Brazos I courted my dear, singing Lila, Lila, oh lend me your hand. Lila, Lila, lend me your hand. Oh Lila, Lila, lend me your hand. There's many a river that waters this land. Now the fair Angelina, she runs glossy and gliding. Oh, the crooked Colorado runs weaving and winding on the banks of the Natchez. There's girls by the score. Oh, I'll never walk down the muddy Brazos no more, singing Lila, Lila, lend me your hand. Lila, Lila, oh lend me your hand. Lila, Lila, oh lend me your hand. Trinity is muddy and the Brazos quicksand. Oh, there's a ladder of rivers we have to cross. Crossing the muddy Brazos came at a high cost. Too many cowboys, horses, and longhorns were lost when they decided they'd build that big bridge. They charged a nickel a head on the old Chisholm Trail, driving the longhorns on north to the rail, through the rain, sleet, snow, and the hail. A nickel a head on the old Chisholm Trail. The Waco Suspension Bridge spanned 475 feet. Over 3 million bricks were used to build the bridge for the towers. The Roebling Company practiced down here in Texas before they built the Brooklyn Bridge and built that bridge. And they charged a nickel a head on the old Chisholm Trail. They paid for that bridge in 2 years. A nickel a head on the old Chisholm Trail, driving those longhorns on north to the rail, through the rain, sleet, snow, and the hail. A nickel a head on the old Chisholm Trail. They charge a nickel a head on the old Chisholm Trail. The bridge is still there today, so come by and see it. It's truly very historical and important to the old cattle drive era. A nickel a head on the old Chisholm Trail. A nickel a head on the old Chisholm Trail.
Valley, they say you are going. I shall miss your bright eyes and sweet smile, for they say you are taking the sunshine that has brightened our pathway. Sit by my side if you love me. Do not hasten to bid me adieu. River Valley, and the cowboy who loved you so true. Been thinking a long time, my darling, of the sweet words you never would say. Now, alas, all my fond hopes have vanished. They say you are going away. Come and sit by my side if you love me. Do not hasten to bid me adieu, but remember the Red River Valley and the cowboy who loves you so true. Have you thought of the past you'll be leaving? Do you really think it is best? Have you thought of the hearts that will be grieving as we wait in our home in the West? Come and sit by my side if you love me. Do not hasten to bid me adieu, but remember the Red River Valley and the cowboy who loves you so true.
Well, as the sun goes down over the Texas prairie, before I sing this final song, I'd like to thank NRS. That is in Decatur, Texas, and it's just up the hill from this setting that we've done to make it look like we're out in the middle of nowhere. But in fact, we're right next door to a 90,000 square foot facility that sells anything you can think of that has to do with the West. And they also send out catalogs, and they're online. That's NRS. And if you are ever just happening to drive into Fort Worth, going on down 287 through Decatur, you want to stop off and see the store for yourself. They do have a retail segment that's really great, wonderful service. I think the world of them, and I wouldn't have it any other way. One thing I really admire about them is the way that they believe and the way that they think and their patriotism for this country and their love of the Lord in this entire business. We're very proud tonight to say that the money that you donate goes to Murphey Western Institute, and that NRS supports our cause, Murphey Western Institute. That is a 501c3 federally tax-exempt organization, so you can write off every donation that you send into this show. Let me tell you one project that we did that really made a difference. We raised money to save the cabin that Home on the Range was written in the 1850s by Dr. Brewster Higley. If you're ever way up in northwestern Kansas in the corner, you can find the Home on the Range cabin. It was a chicken house, and we found it, and we raised about $100,000 to make it end up a state park for the state of Kansas. Really should be on the National Historic Register, because for us cowboys, I guess you'd say, as much as we love the national anthem, this is really the national anthem of the American West. Home on the Range. Oh, give me a home with a buffalo roam
where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. The red man was pressed from his part of the West. He's likely no more to return to the banks of Red River, where seldom, if ever, flickering campfires still burn. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. How often at night, when the heavens are bright, I see the light of the flickering stars. Have I laid there amazed and asked as I gaze if their glory exceeds that of ours? Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Hey, could I see you guys backstage passes back there? Okay, we'll check you later. Good night. This is the Lone Cowboy Hour saying get in that bedroll. We'll see you real early in the morning. Well, it's been absolutely fantastic being with you here tonight, singing some old-time cowboy music and the songs that we sing in the Red River Valley in Red River, New Mexico. Hope you'll come up and join us at the Rockin' 3M Chuckwagon in Red River, where we give you a Western meal, Western songs, beans, beef, biscuits, and ballads. Good night from the old Lone Cowboy. From this valley they say you are going, I shall miss your bright eyes and sweet smile.
They say you are taking the sunshine that has brightened our pathway a while. And I've been thinking a long time, my darling, of the sweet words you never. I'm on a rundown, I'm out running sundown, I'm thinking I'm on the right track. I'm writing a song as I'm riding along, keeping the sun at my back. Big horse trailer and truck, I can make my own luck as I ride through the sand and the sage. As it gives me a rush to be busting the brush, acting about half my age. Lone cowboy,